the majority, big mouth.
Time to catch up with our regular Thursday contributor. She is New South Wales Liberal Senator Fierravanti-Wells. Connie, good morning.
Good morning, Stephen.
John Howard, I guess, has really set the benchmark for what former Prime Ministers should do and how they should behave. Turnbull's behaviour is just extraordinary.
Well, Turnbull is entitled to his opinion. The government is doing what it believes is in the best interests of Australia. It has chosen a path that it believes is the best path to protect Australia and the best capability fit for Australia. And this is a good decision in relation to what we're doing with AUKUS and the submarines. I mean, we've discussed this before, Stephen. The submarine project had been the subject of much scrutiny by me, by other senators, through Senate estimates, processes, and there were always concerns about the French connection, the capability gaps, the cost escalations as a consequence of the decisions that were taken. And so, therefore, I go back to the point, we are doing, and the government is doing, what it believes is in the best interests of Australia, and that's what we should be focusing on.
But there's a bit of revisionist history in this as well, because when the Turnbull government at the time signed the deal for these French submarines, he talks about the slight that has been that we've made against the French. Well, the same could be said for the Japanese and the Germans back when the French deal was signed.
Well, in any deal, Stephen, people take various considerations into account. Now, as far as the decision on the submarines is concerned, there was always a concern, I believe, about the integration of the US combat and weapons systems and the obvious intellectual property issues. These were concerns that have been raised over time, and so, therefore, in consultation with the US and the UK, we have identified what we believe is the optional pathway to deliver nuclear-powered submarines, and that's what we're going to proceed to do over the next 18 months.
He's also basically said, well, he's, in not so many words, says that he's going to campaign against the Liberal Party at the next federal election. Why does the party still keep him as a member?
Well, that's a matter for the Liberal Party to decide, Stephen. As I said, at this point in time, from the government's perspective, certainly, Malcolm Turnbull is entitled to his opinion, but we are doing what we believe is in the best interests of Australia, and we will continue to do so.
Let's stay on the military bent for a moment. More than 1,000 veterans and serving ADF personnel have sadly taken their own lives in the last 2 decades, according to a new report from the Australian Institute of Health and Welfare. It's good that we have further information on this, but are we doing enough to combat this scourge?
Well, Stephen, this is the 4th Australian Institute of Health and Welfare report on suicide amongst permanent reserve and ex-serving ADF persons. This report expands on the work by including members with at least 1 day of ADF service. So we're talking more people, greater population. So in effect, yes, the numbers are higher, but it seems that the suicide levels remain the same. Look, this is one of the reasons that we're having a Royal Commission into Defence and Veteran Suicide, which will be led by Nick Calders, and I and other senators push very, very hard for this. And there is no doubt that the tragedy of suicide amongst our veteran communities is a national priority. Now, we have injected over recent times more money into veterans' mental health, which includes support across a range of different services. And I think the highest priority for us is to make sure that when help is sought, we deliver it properly and in a timely manner, but also ensure that we establish sufficient programs and sufficient assistance for veterans so that they can call on different organisations for assistance.
Last but not least, and in principle, I think the Treasurer has made the right decision here, turning off the tap to the states with the disaster payments being wound back as vaccination targets are met. My only concern here is that it punishes the states that actually do the right thing and get their populations vaccinated and allows those recalcitrant states or gives them a benefit to actually lag behind. I mean, we're seeing Queensland and Western Australia lagging way behind states like New South Wales and certainly here in the ACT. Our payments will get turned off because we've done the right thing, but the ones that lag behind still get the money.
Well, Stephen, we have to get back to a point where people can live their lives, run their businesses, where we're not spending billions of dollars plus a week in terms of economic supports. Let's not forget that's all borrowed money on the future. And we have to be able to get the dividends for mass vaccinations. Now, we've already spent more than $13 billion in direct business and household support in relation to Delta alone. Now, as the Treasurer has said, we can't eliminate the virus and we have to learn to live with it. I mean, this is something that I and others have been saying since last year, that we need to live with it. And so, therefore, as part of the national plan, which the states and territories have agreed to, once vaccination rates hit that 70-80%, then we need to be positioned so that the economy can bounce back. And so by winding back the disaster payments, not only are we assisting the economy to get back on its feet, but we are providing certainty so that businesses and households can plan to the future. Now, we have put into place the transition phase, and the Treasurer has outlined those. But as I said, I think it's important that that we do get on with our lives and get on with business, and certainly for those who haven't been able to enter and return to the workforce at the end of these temporary payments, when their temporary payments end, and as the economy opens up, the social security system will support those eligible individuals back into work.
Connie, good to talk to you this morning. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Stephen. Thanks a lot.
Senator Fierravanti-Wells. It's 17 past 7.